This is Land of Havilah, Proverbs 25. It's the start of a new section that runs 5 chapters. Here's the introduction of it, verse 1. These also are Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out. Comment: Hezekiah was king in Jerusalem about 700 B.C. According to the detailed genealogies in the Bible, he was a 12th generation descendant of Solomon. There was a gap between him and Solomon of about 250 years. According to verse 1 we just read, some of Hezekiah's men copied out these proverbs and attribute them to Solomon. Possibly they copied them from Solomon's originals. As we said, this will run 5 chapters. Verse 2. It's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. Comment: God has information He doesn't give up easily, but He might be willing to give it up if we search it out. He said, "Call to me, and I'll answer you, and will show you great and difficult things which you didn't know." Jeremiah 33:3. Many of us have had the experience of searching the Scripture, and God opened it for us in astounding ways. If we search out any matter, scriptural or otherwise, there's no telling how much we can learn about it. James said, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives liberally and without reproach." James 1:5. And God told Daniel that in the end times knowledge would increase. Daniel 12:4. Indeed, now we're in the information age. But God has answers the internet can't give, and He'll answer us if we ask Him. Maybe not the exact disclosure we would like Him to give, but He'll give us something. Verse 3. As the heavens for height and the earth for depth, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable. Comment: in this proverb, the heart of kings is unsearchable, possibly because their store of knowledge is so vast. Their hearts are as the heavens for height and earth for depth. The common man in Solomon's day didn't have much access to information, but the king had people reporting to him constantly, so he was constantly learning. In Revelation 5:10, Jesus has, quote, "made us kings and priests to our God," end quote. He's given us access to information by opening the Scripture to us, for one thing, and opening our understanding. Verse 4. Take away the dross from the silver, and material comes out for the refiner. Take away the wicked from the king's presence, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Comment: remove wicked advisers, and the king's throne will be established in righteousness. His throne will be secure because of all the good and righteous decisions that emanate from it. That righteousness is a guarantee of security. Verse 6. Don't exalt yourself in the presence of the king, or claim a place among great men, for it's better that it be said of you, "Come up here," than that you should be put lower in the presence of the prince, whom your eyes have seen. Comment: Jesus said almost exactly the same thing, that when you're invited to a marriage feast, don't take a seat of honor. Otherwise, you might be told to get up from your seat and give it to someone with more honor. You'll have to get up and move and be embarrassed in front of everyone. It's better to take a low seat and be told to move up higher. Today at such functions, there are typically name tags at the tables to prevent anything like that. The same approach applies to life in general, that we shouldn't claim a great place among men, a place among great men. We shouldn't be self-promoters. If we prove to be great and others promote us, fine. The point is here is the prince that our eyes have seen, that when we see God, God's the ultimate prince. When we see Him, we don't want Him to accuse us of promoting us more than we should have promoted ourselves. Verse 8. Don't be hasty in bringing charges to court. What will you do in the end when your neighbor shames you? Comment: don't accuse anyone hastily, and especially don't sue anyone in court hastily. If you're wrong about your neighbor, you'll be put to shame. Verse 9. Debate your case with your neighbor, and don't betray the confidence of another, lest one who hears it put you to shame, and your bad reputation never depart. Comment: verses 9 and 10 we just read are related to the previous verse, that before taking someone to court, we should try to settle the matter privately. Accusations are best aired in private for 2 reasons in the proverb. First, we can spare our neighbor the embarrassment of the accusation. Second, if we're wrong about the accusation, we'll be the ones publicly embarrassed. Verse 11, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Comment, just the right word at just the right time is a beautiful thing. Verse 12, as an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wise reprover to an obedient ear. Comment, if we know value, we'll highly value a person who's willing to correct us. Verse 13, as the cold of snow in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger for those who send him, for he refreshes the soul of his masters. Comment, cold weather is refreshing in the fall, and it's refreshing to have someone you trust so much that you can leave sensitive business in their hands and you know they'll do well with it. Verse 14, as clouds and wind without rain, so is he who boasts of gifts deceptively. Comment, rain was a good thing in Israel because it was dry. When they saw dark clouds coming, they were disappointed if there was no rain. And it's disappointing when a person promises something and doesn't deliver. Verse 15, by patience a ruler is persuaded, a soft tongue breaks the bone. Comment, your narrator once got a parking ticket because he forgot to display his parking pass on the dashboard. It was in the console. At the end of the day, he showed the officer the ticket, and the officer lit into him for 5 minutes, giving him a lecture, naming every reason he should have paid the parking fee. Your narrator kept saying, I agree, officer, you're absolutely right. When the officer ran out of reasons that a person should pay, your narrator told him he did pay but forgot to display the pass. Then the officer went into as many reasons why a person should display his pass, and your narrator kept listening. Finally, the officer wore himself out so much he canceled the ticket. By patience, a ruler is persuaded. A soft tongue breaks the bone. Verse 16. Have you found honey? Eat as much as is sufficient for you, lest you eat too much and vomit it. Comment, even the best things lose their appeal if you have too much of them. Pace yourself. Eat as much as is sufficient for you. Verse 17. Let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house, lest he be weary of you and hate you. Comment, don't enter your neighbor's house too often, lest he be weary of you. Don't wear out your welcome. Verse 18. A man who gives false testimony against his neighbor is like a club, a sword, or a sharp arrow. Comment, false testimony and false accusations are akin to violence. At the least, false testimony does violence to a person's reputation. Verse 19. Confidence in someone unfaithful in time of trouble is like a bad tooth or a lame foot. Comment, it's painfully disappointing when you place your confidence in someone in some important matter and they turn out to be unfaithful to you. Verse 20. As one who takes away a garment in cold weather or vinegar on soda, so is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. Comment, there's a cold shock when you snatch away someone's garment in cold weather. There's a violent reaction when you mix vinegar with soda. So it is when someone's in mourning and you try to cheer them up. It's a shock to them. It creates a strong reaction in them to think how inconsiderate you are or to think how naive you are that all they need is a little cheering up. Verse 21. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink, for you'll heap coals of fire on his head, and Yahweh will reward you. Comment, be nice to your enemy, and he'll feel terribly guilty that he treated you poorly. And as for God, he'll reward you when you're kind to your enemy. This is one of those proverbs that may or may not hold true. Solomon knew good and well that there are times you must wage war with your enemy, but try the nice approach first is his point. Verse 23. The north wind produces rain, so a backbiting tongue brings an angry face. Comment, a backbiting tongue is literally in the Hebrew a tongue of secret or hidden tongue. We call it talking or whispering behind someone's back. It makes us angry when someone whispers about us behind our back. It's still true today in Israel that north winds produce rain. In the same way, whispering behind someone's back produces anger. Verse 24. It's better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than to share a house with a contentious woman. Comment, this is an exact repeat of Proverbs 21:9 and almost a repeat of Proverbs 21:19. It's exceptionally difficult to live with a quarrelsome woman. Better to live on a corner of a roof, Proverbs 21:9 and 25:24, or in a desert, Proverbs 21:19. Verse 25. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. Comment, news from far-off lands were very slow and limited until recently. Now the world is connected instantaneously. Good news from a far-off country was refreshing. Maybe a runner came with news that Israel won the battle and the kingdom was safe. Verse 26. Like a muddied spring and a polluted well, so is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. Comment, it's sad whenever we hear that a righteous man has polluted himself. Verse 27. It's not good to eat much honey, nor is it honorable to seek one's own honor. Comment, honor is a wonderful thing, but it's not honorable to seek honor. Quote, nor is it honorable to seek one's own honor. Verse 28. Like a city that is broken down and without walls is a man whose spirit is without restraint. Comment, a person must be able to control himself. If he can't, he's as defenseless as a city without walls. He's a magnet for trouble. Proverbs 26 is next.